Hey guys, be sure to check out our sponsor, Spiders Will Eat Your Face, available on Amazon Prime, Instant Watch, and Amazon.com. Spiders Will Eat Your Face is a documentary about the history of pet tarantulas in America. That is Spiders Will Eat Your Face, the movie on Amazon.
Hi, my name's Joe.
And I'm Mike.
And you're listening to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? The podcast. And this week we'll be reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming.
He's not my Spider-Man.
Welcome to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? Featuring two guys sucking down Darjeeling and reviewing movies in a weekly podcast form.
What does that mean?
Darjeeling is like tea. I think this is a quote from the first Toy Story when he's like doing like the tea party, Buzz Lightyear, and he's like sucking down Darjeeling.
I don't
he's
remember
having like
that
the midlife crisis.
Wow. Are you a Toy Story aficionado, or
I
did
love
you
Toy
look
Story.
it up? Okay.
No, I recognized it right away.
Oh, okay. And
I didn't know what Darjeeling was until she submitted this, or he or she submitted this, and then I had to look up. I was like, what is he talking about in that scene?
Right.
It's an Indian type of tea, I think. Darjeeling.
Oh, okay. And that came to us from at Naima_43
Or
on
possibly
Twitter.
NYEMA_43. We're not sure.
Or just like NYEMA. Maybe it's an acronym of some sort. Naima, your eternal man again. 43.
_43.
There was already 42 Twitter handles of that same exact acronym.
Damn it.
But
if you have any further synonym suggestions, you can hit us up on any of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, email us, Gmail us.
we got them all.
We got it all. HowManyFingersPodcast.com. That's the easiest way to find all those. But let us delay no further. Betwixt us, for the first time, Jim Corrado, or Corrado, as we were saying before.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for bringing me over.
Dude,
I'm really
thanks
excited
for
for this.
coming
It's
on.
gonna be fun.
Now, we used to work together.
Yes. At a company that shall not be named.
Yeah, no. I had somebody on there from before, and I was like, I don't know if I want to get into that lawsuit.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they watch this podcast. But I feel like I've been meaning to get you on for ages, as a lot of our guests do. But we had an opening for this last minute, and I'm surprised you came through last minute. Like, I'm the worst at booking guests. I'm like, listen, tonight, 7 p.m., can you come on my podcast? And they're like, what? No, I still have to see a movie. But there's an actual connection between Spider-Man and Jim Corrado. Jim? Is this racist? I don't know.
It's not great.
I'm not offended yet. So we're okay.
I think we should keep pushing it.
Okay.
But you were, and I don't know the exact technical term, you were a stand-in for Andrew Garfield on The Amazing Spider-Man.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure which one.
Yeah.
So basically, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah. Betwixt us, let us delay no further. Spider-Man.
Featuring Spider-Man.
And what was that experience like?
So as his stand-in,
Right.
There ended up being like 3 of them during the entire film.
Right.
I came in for like 2 to 3 months. So I was there quite a long time. So I was standing in for Andrew and his stunt double. Really cool guy. I can't remember his name, but I remember he's like a skateboarder, like some famous skateboarder that ended up being
Tony
a
Hawk.
stunt double. Yeah, Tony Hawk.
Andrew, you want me to stand here? Or?
So with the whole stand-in job with that, so whenever the actors are, they need to leave the set because, they have to set up the lighting, the cameras, get all the angles down. So they're not going to have somebody that they're paying a lot of money to do that. They're going to give that to somebody else.
Right, yes.
Who gets paid a lot less. But somebody who has the same basic height, build skin color just so like the camera and the lights to give off the same kind of glow and reflection and all that stuff. So that was me, and then go through all their motions. So they're checking out like how long like if it's a tracking shot, like they're walking through the scene.
Right.
Making sure, okay, how long are they standing here before they move, and where the motions are, and how are they sitting. So you're just trying to copy whatever they do when they do it the first time.
That's super cool.
Yeah. I mean, I got.
Did you get to wear the suit though?
I didn't. Oh, I was so angry. Like, it was honestly. Like, on one scene, it was lying on his, like, the bed that he has, and it was just right there, and I wanted to grab it and run away.
Do they put you in costume at all for that? Or
No, it was just like, make sure you have clothes that match. Okay. So, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I can imagine they do a lot of tracking for when he is in the...
Because it was a lot of CGI.
Right,
So you weren't, like, slinging around New York City?
No. I did get in some stunt harnesses a couple of times, though.
Nice.
Like, when they're standing on the second movie, they're standing, her and Gwen Stacy, they're standing on top of one of the bridges, and they're on, like, this giant ball. So we were me and my friend Sarah, who was standing in for Gwen, and we were up there, got some stunt harnesses on. We were up maybe like 15, 20 feet in the air, like on this giant ball and green screen. So it was, it's fun. A lot of really
pretty cool. That's a big production. So just to be around that is really awesome.
They actually built an entire Times Square up in Bethpage, New York.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they had a lot of money to spend, and like it looked like Times Square. Like it was really weird. But it was a great experience, a lot of fun.
I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Did you spend some time with Emma Stone?
Yeah, a little bit. She was pretty nice.
That's good.
There was, for one time, it was for a couple of minutes, they wanted her to stand in there, not her stand in for some reason.
Right. I can see you never being at the same place at the same time as Andrew Garfield. Because he'd be like, get out of my spot.
Yeah, exactly,
But Emma Stone, I can kind of see, like,
so
you guys would cross paths.
Yeah, so she was there for, a couple of minutes, and it was really awkward. We shook hands. She was like, hi. My mom, like, I'm Jim. And then we just stood, like, standing this close to each other. I'm doing face-to-face, about a couple of inches. So, we were just awkwardly staring at each other for too long.
Right,
was she dating Andrew at that point?
Yeah,
Because that's also dating. Weird because it's like not only is my co-star supposed to be here, but my boyfriend is supposed to be the one that's standing here.
Emma, what the fuck is this?
Who is he? Who is this guy who's been here every day for 2 months? What's going on?
Is he the stand-in for our relationship now?
No, but they were both really nice.
That's good.
Yeah, for the little bit of conversation that we had with each other, because we're all there to work. But,
they seem like nice people.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. The director was nice too, Mark Webb. He was a good guy. Yeah,
and he did like
it's a perfect name for Spider-Man,
right? I thought so too.
That never crossed my mind because he did the however many days of summer.
500
days of summer.
Yeah,
however many days of summer.
That's a long summer.
It is.
Sounds like global warming.
It's a real problem.
Sounds like the near future.
Hey, depression all around.
But besides the Amazing Spider-Man 2, you're in the Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that earlier. Is there anything else that we would have, that you've done stand-in work for?
Yeah,
we've seen you in?
I worked in Gossip Girl for a couple of seasons, The Good Wife.
It's my mom's favorite show.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, so I was
She'll be happy to know.
Yeah. I was there for a couple of seasons, and The Following for the first season.
Oh, okay.
I had a couple little close-up shots. Unforgettable, which was a very unforgettable show. It was some police detective who... Yeah, it was some police detective who didn't forget anything. Like, she had a photographic memory. So I was one of the techie cops in the high-tech police station, hacking away on the computer and stuff.
I'm almost in the main... Did you say mainframe?
I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I was just like this.
Well,
I'm concentrating on the computer screen. Clickety-clack. The original title for that show, if I remember, was The Rememberer.
No.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they did Unforgettable.
This probably makes a little bit more sense. But yeah.
That's a really funny premise. Somebody who can't forget anything. Be like, I can't stop thinking about lunch I had
Somebody's
3
just
August
like-
ago.
Yeah. Someone's like, do you remember back when? It's like, yeah, I remember.
And there was a pickle on the sandwich. The case is solved.
What a gift. It's really a curse.
I like how TV shows think that anyone with like a unique skill should be a cop of some kind.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
You don't like dirty things? You should be a cop. Tune in for Monk.
Right, yeah, no, exactly. Well, I'm excited to hear what you'll think of this new Spider-Man now that you've worked on
Our resident Spider-Man expert.
Yeah, and I have to
the
admit,
4th Spider-Man. We'll call you in the
Oh,
4th
geez, right.
installment of the Spider-Man franchise
When they reboot it again in 2 years.
this decade.
and he's gonna be a 36-year-old man this time.
I'm old Spider-Man.
Old man spider. But yeah, no, I've actually Spider-Man is one of my favorite comic book characters,
really?
like growing up too. So I have a little like knowledge of him. Like
He was
before
always
this.
my favorite superhero growing up.
Yeah, right. A lot
he
of
appeals
people.
to kids a lot.
He really
I think.
does.
He
Yeah.
does.
Pretty
Yeah,
well.
it's an easy.
Once you start
one to
seeing
get
like how
behind.
shitty the world is, you're like, oh, I get Batman now.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate everything too.
Right, yeah.
I wish my parents were dead. JK, I love you, Mom. And Dad.
He's crossing his fingers right now.
I can see it. Mrs. King, run. Run to Jim. He was in The Good Wife. Mike, what are we drinking this week?
We're drinking Adirondack Lager from Saranac Family Brewery. Family Brewery.
4th generation family.
See what it tastes like. Okay.
As Jim said, it looks very nice, but it was the cheapest beer that they were offering.
That's a staple. Of
That's
how
how
many
my
fingers
life
the
is
podcast. Yeah. I don't know. Even if I was like the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest guys, no, that's a really bad. No, I'd buy like really stupid, expensive beer. Yeah.
By like all like the single bomber bottles that are like
Right. Yeah.
limited runs.
It's better than the Yingling Light we've been drinking.
It's not bad.
It's good. I like it.
It'll do. It'll get the job done. Sponsor us, Saranac.
Your beer is beer.
It's beer. Drink Sarnac.
What's the percentage on this bad boy? What we got?
They never put it on the bottle.
Why do they always make it so hard to find?
We're gonna
The silence is us looking around awkwardly.
we're gonna
And it doesn't say.
trick you into drinking a low or high percentage beer. What the heck? I'm really drunk. What the heck? I'm not drunk at all.
Yeah.
Are the two possible outcomes that could happen.
And maybe they just switch it up for each bottle. So it's a mystery.
Mystery alcohol content. Is there alcohol in this? You'll find out. But Mike, how about that IMDb description?
Oh, Joe, hold your horses before we get there.
Oh.
One last plug, because if you're listening to this when it comes out on Thursday, this Sunday, July 16th, we'll be recording live at the 5th Annual Philadelphia Podcast Festival, obviously in the aforementioned Philadelphia. We'll be at 4 o'clock p.m. at Tattooed Mom Bar, hanging out with Tattooed Mom. Just chilling there.
She'll be there. Come say hi to her.
Your kid's doing a podcast.
What's a podcast?
I think I did a podcast in the 70s. I was really high on coke.
I don't want to know what you
Horse
think.
tranquilizers.
I don't want to know what you think a podcast is.
You see, they put me in a pod with another fellow. We were both naked as the day we were born, and they cast us into the sky.
Like a cannonball or
Giant slingshot.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, she'll be there with us, I hope. So yeah, come meet us, come watch us record live, come drink some beer with us. We're gonna do like a participatory podcast. So be ready with your favorite movie suggestions for us to talk about and destroy in front of you with our opinion.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to be on this podcast?
Now's
Come to
your
this
chance.
show. We'll bring you on stage,
That's right.
and you can tell us your favorite movie, and we'll make fun of you about it.
So again, that's July 16th, Sunday, 4 o'clock p.m., Tattooed Mom in Philadelphia.
Be there.
Now I will give you the IMDb description, Joe.
Be square.
IMDb. I wanted to try to
beautiful.
I wanted to try and throw in some like new things for you guys.
We're going to have to sing that from now on. Peter Parker, comma, with the help of his mentor, Tony Stark, tries to balance his life as an ordinary high school student in New York City while fighting crime as his superhero alter ego Spider-Man when a new threat emerges. That last clause is kind of a mouthful. Not your best, IMDb.
I do like Peter Parker, comma. Just chew on Peter Parker for a minute. Just chew on that.
Let it hang.
That name.
It seems like it might be about to like describe like who is Peter Parker, but it's just like nope, Tony Stark.
Yeah, but I'm just going to jump into some real basic notes real quick so we can get to discussing this movie. Hey, talk about the movie already! Stop saying the word like so much! I read your comments.
Your
I see what's
unsolicited
going on.
podcast advice.
That's always my favorite.
People love filler words. They can't get enough of them. They're always
Yeah.
telling us. They say, you're talking too much and I don't think you're thinking enough. I don't think
You should take a break and just throw a word repeatedly in there.
you're not like grasping for the next thought long enough. I think you should be saying, like,
You know.
yeah. But yeah.
Like,
So, like, Spider-Man, Homecoming, was directed by John Watts. John Watts has directed various short films, multiple episodes of the Onion News Network and Onion Sports Dome, and 2 feature-length films titled Clown and Cop Car. Has anyone ever seen Cop Car?
No.
Oh, okay, it's like
it looked
these
interesting.
kids like stumble like upon a cop
Kevin
car.
Bacon
Yeah, and
and-
Kevin Bacon. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's very bizarre that they saw that and they were like, "What do you think of High School Spider-Man?"
Or like Clown, which I haven't
Yes.
seen, but it's like a terrifying clown. Seems like just a clown horror movie.
It's like a dad who rents a cursed clown outfit for his like son's birthday party. That's the premise of a movie.
Anything can get made.
that, and then Onion News Network. That's a lot of weird stuff to see and be like, you know what? You should write and direct the next best thing that we're doing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Hashtag and slash Sony.
Yeah.
Hashtag what? No.
You should hold the fate of 2 companies in your
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't write this though, did he? Or did
Well, I'll get into that. There's a lot of writing credits to go around for Spider-Man: Homecoming. The screenplay and story was written by John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, Sam Weir from Freaks and Geeks,
I was gonna say.
and his writing partner. Previously, they've written together for Horrible Bosses 1 and 2, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, and Vacation. The latter was directed by his writing partner, Jonathan Goldstein. The screenplay was also written by the director John Watts, Christopher Ford, Chris McKenna, and Eric Sommers. They all also had a hand in this. And then there's also 4 other writing credits for, just like based on a Marvel comic book by,
okay.
and like character, Captain America. By. But that's it. They have a fucking like football team of writers. It's a lot of people had their hands in this soup.
I'm sure anything that happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has to go by like 10 different people.
right?
Oh, definitely. The film stars Tom Holland, Michael Keaton, John Favreau, Zendaya, Donald Glover, Tyne Daly, Marissa Tomei, and Robert Downey Jr. But yeah, there was something else. They've been planning this since, what's it called? I remember this came out in November 2014 when all of Sony's shit was hacked into and published on the internet so we could, it's funny, I think like The Amazing Spider-Man was supposed to be very different. Like when the corporate executives like had their hands in it, they were like, what if Spider-Man was doing like, what if he was like an EDM DJ and he was also like running like Tough Mudder marathons on the weekend? And
Well, they had
the writers were like, "Oh no!"
Well, they had a lot of scenes that they even did like for the second film that they just cut out entirely. Like,
really?
all of Mary Jane's stuff.
Really?
Like, yeah, she
had
a
developed
lot.
that
Yeah, they had a character.
Well, that's
They had
right.
a
Yeah, she's supposed to
character.
be Shailene Woodley in the second one.
Yeah, we shot a lot of stuff with her character, a lot of time, and they just we're gonna forget about it.
We don't want that.
Yeah, we're done.
Not for us.
This movie time is 4 hours running. Maybe we should cut it down.
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, no, I know they've been planning it since then. There was something where it's owned by Sony, or something. It's like Sony
owns the movie rights to Spider-Man.
So Sony wanted Marvel Studios to produce a new trilogy of Spider-Man, but Sony would have where is it? Sony would have like creative control, marketing, and distribution rights, but it would be put out by Marvel, kind of, you know. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It is like this kind of split,
Collaboration.
Yeah. In the Andrew
It allows it
Garfield
to
one,
be
wasn't
in
that
the Marvel Cinematic Universe and use the characters from the rest of Marvel and instead of just being just Spider-Man.
So yeah, this was this had an interesting opening for a movie. I mean, we got to see kind of we kind of got to see this like exposition of the Vulture right off the bat, which I was like, yeah, I like this, but the opening of this movie was kind of rough for me personally. I know you guys probably might feel a little differently, but it was kind of like what came first?
It's the villain. It's the villain thing, yeah.
Okay,
because the initial opening is pretty good, I thought, but then it goes when it introduces actual Spider-Man.
Okay, so yeah,
weird.
We open up and we get like Michael Keaton, who's
Tombs.
yeah, and he's they're kind of this like
Private contractor.
Construction.
Yeah,
breaking
and he's
down.
got the contract to clean up like the alien leftovers from like these massive battles that the Avengers have in the city.
With the Chitauri from
Yeah.
the Avengers.
right, yeah, and that's kind of like a cool premise. Like I don't know if it's out yet or it's supposed to be out. I think there's like literally a premise of like a TV show that's coming out that's supposed to be like, what would the cleanup crew be like for like the Marvel universe kind of. And I think that was actually like, I don't know if that just got like trashed or like, is it still coming out? I don't know.
Well, that's based off of another comic too. So,
Okay.
But I haven't heard if they're following through with it or not either.
I just remember like Abed from Community was supposed to be in
Oh
it.
no,
and
that was for
that
DC,
was
yeah.
when they were developing the stuff for the event. It's like all the people in the lab, right?
Yeah, that was a DC version though. There's
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, no, I mean, this is an interesting premise because it's not, I don't know.
It kind of just it shows how people in the real world are affected by like these huge battles that they're having. I also like how it kind of shows the perception that real people have of the Avengers and like Tony Stark,
Right.
Because like after they like get kind of robbed of the contract and they're all kind of talking shit back at like their warehouse or whatever, and the one guy says like it's all rigged. Like about how, you know, the Avengers create the mess and then Tony Stark gets the contract. And like, that's almost like something you would hear us say about like oil companies or lobbyists or like politicians and that whole like cycle. And like, it's interesting to see that people in that universe think that way of like Tony Stark and the Avengers as kind of like privileged people.
Yeah.
Almost.
Right.
So that was interesting. I really liked that about the beginning.
Yeah.
and it did set up a good tone. Like he's like an everyday guy.
Yeah.
Who got, you know, kicked around by the big guy one too many times.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I think to jump forward like a little bit in the film, I do like this kind of, I mean, Tony Stark sets it to Spider-Man, where he's kind of like you're kind of like the blue collar hero or something, and then Michael Keaton's kind of always kind of trying to level with Spider-Man, kind of, and it's kind of like you've got grit, and like I really like that, and I see like, you know. I'm not going to get into that spoiler, but but then
spoilers.
Boiler alert. But then we go into something that And that was kind of like, I wish that was kind of worked a little more cleverly into the film, where it was kind of like, here's some exposition. I don't know. It just felt like clunky. Like it was kind of like, we have this scene. Let's just open the movie with it, kind of. It kind of felt, it was a little like, okay, yeah, I guess. Like for me. And then it was like 8 years later, which I also thought was weird.
It was weird
like,
after like 5 minutes or 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And I feel like 8 years isn't even like, the Avengers wasn't even that long ago. Like, or was it? I don't know. Like, it just seemed like a weird timeline thing. Okay,
it's
was
been
it?
a while since the first Avengers probably came out.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, then we have the home video kind of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or Peter Parker, which I was not crazy about.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people liked it, and it's something that's never really been done before, as a lot of this movie was, but it was kind of like, just like, okay, we get it. It felt like a narrative device that was kind of like, if you're not going to show this to anybody, you know, like...
It seemed like it should have been something like a DVD extra feature or something. Like, I don't think it really does anything for the story that we couldn't have gotten across in traditional means. Like, you can kind of cut this out and just start with him in the car with Tony Stark, and we get all the information we need going forward. It's really just for humor and to sort of reintroduce us to his character as this kind of zany, awkward kind of kid, just, you know, saying whatever comes to his mind, no real like filter, kind of off the wall, and that's really all it does. And it's just a lot of like jokes with like Happy. I'm just kind of like, does he really need to be as big a character in this movie?
Well, I kind of felt like with the timeline of how many movies there's been since the Civil War,
right?
Like it was like a little bit of a refresher. Like, oh, okay, so now we know what timeline it is.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to establish where it's
Yeah.
taking place and when. And
Yeah, definitely. I get it. It's not completely lost on me that they need to be like, hey, like, this is where we last saw Spider-Man, because they are coming into a kind of weird situation where it's kind of like, it's Wonder Woman-esque, kind of, where it's kind of like, at the beginning of Wonder Woman's like, I know you saw me in Batman vs Superman. Now let me show you my origin story, kind of. Where Spider-Man's kind of like, I'm a goofy kid, and like, hey, remember, like, like, look at me fighting, like, during this scene. I don't know,
it feels like something out of almost like a sequel to like a superhero origin story. It's kind of like, remember what Spider-Man's like? Get used to that. Now we can jump into like what the plot is.
And
like
I guess that is the product of these sort of superhero universes now, like where it's not so much like.
Yeah, because this is
original
still
movie,
uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Like, this is a giant experiment that they're doing.
Yeah, so it was interesting, but it didn't exactly work for me.
Okay.
But I don't even know where to go from here. I kind of want to talk more about just like the broader feelings of this. I hate going plot point to plot point sometimes, but I really kind of really, again, this movie does like a lot of shit. It strays away from like your typical superhero movie. It's like no one is trying to take over the world in this movie. The third act doesn't have like a big blue beam that's going into the sky, and it's kind of like the whole world's gonna be destroyed. Like it's
if we're talking about kind of like the first scene, I kind of appreciate the fact that in hindsight now that like in a worse movie or in like almost any other superhero movie, that first scene, if that happened, then that character, like the Vulture or whatever, would have been like, and now I need to get revenge on Tony Stark for stealing that contract. But it never goes there. It stays more grounded in like, he's not out for vengeance. He just wants to provide for his family, and that's enough.
Stay
like
under the
radar. He's not trying to
Yeah.
dominate the world or even really hurt anybody. Like the one scene where he ends up killing one of his henchmen, he's like, oh, I thought that was the gravity gun. I didn't mean to do that.
right.
But he did feel like no remorse. Like,
Yeah, that is true. But we have a villain who kills one person by accident during this movie. He's not just like fucking cutting like henchmen's throats because they're like, you didn't do what I asked you to, kind of, you know, and he's like an arms dealer for low-level crime. You know, Spider-Man is stopping people from stealing stuff. Like, that's the extent of this movie. They're not overextending this sort of like high school character.
And what he can handle.
Yeah, definitely. I also like that we never see like, it's a change of environment from... They're trying so hard to get away from the other Spider-Man movies, definitely. And who would blame them? I mean, Spider-Man is so widely publicized. It's like like
I feel like we've had the most Spider-Man movies of almost like
definitely.
besides maybe Batman. Now
Yeah.
this would be like tied for Batman. No, Batman would have more because there was 4 in the original series. Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's still like it's kind of like I don't know, any other movie. Like I'll tell my parents about, like they're like kind of my gauge of like what is like the average like American kind of, and they're like Doctor Strange, like what the fuck is that kind of, but they're like, my mom's like, oh, there's a new Spider-Man movie, he looks kind of cute, he's like in high school kind of, like, you know, it's kind of like everybody knows a new Spider-Man's coming out, and they kind of have to be like these Spider-Man like apologists of kind of like, this is different this time.
And I think
he's not like swinging around like the World Trade Center or something. He's in a neighborhood. He's like,
yeah, I did really like the scene where he was in the suburbs and he was like, it's like, what do you do? Like Spider-Man can't swing building to building in the suburbs.
They finally did that.
That was kind of fresh. I think I really appreciate the fact that it does not feel like another Spider-Man origin story. Like we don't get the whole I think going into this, we all kind of had the hesitance of like, we're gonna have to do another like Uncle Ben like dying flashback scene or some shit like that, and they don't even like, they barely bring up Uncle Ben at all. I don't even know if there's one line about it.
He said something about like he was like, I don't want to put my
tough.
aunt
Yeah,
through,
it's been
I don't
tough
want
on
to
her since
put
he
that
died.
through Aunt May again. That's it.
and I'm glad there wasn't like any sort of Batman vs Superman sort of romanticized version of him being murdered or something. It's kind of like, we all know this story now. Yeah.
We've seen it too many times.
But then, however, I don't know. I kind of have like a rant about this because, however, I didn't completely understand Peter Parker's, devotion to being Spider-Man. You know, like it seemed like a teenager, and this is where I want to get into it. It's like, it seemed like a teenager would have like the opposite reaction that Peter Parker has. Like he's so, dead set on like high, like the high responsibility as opposed to like, hanging out with like his high school crush in like a fucking bathing suit. Like I could stop there, but like instead of like restoring and promoting his name via celebrity at like a popular house party that his high school crush is like hosting, like he's like, I have a higher responsibility, and you're like, where does this come from? Or just as simple as like, man, my high school crush, like I could impress her by just like kind of like doing this extracurricular activity for an hour or two after school, like every other day, Instead, he's like, I got to do like this nonsense work, kind of being like a friendly neighborhood. I was like, where's the motivation there?
But I think
like,
he really does have fun being Spider-Man. Like I think
definitely,
it's more about just like, this is the cool thing to do. Like he's really into like swinging around and doing all that stuff. He's definitely like infatuated with like the Avengers and like that whole like it's almost like getting to join like your favorite sports team or something for him. Like that's one thing that is accomplished in that kind of home video intro is like the fact that he's like filming the fight with them and then he's like, oh, this is pretty cool, I'm gonna go over here now. Like he's definitely really into just that whole universe, and it's almost like getting to be a part of it now is what's driving
and maybe
him.
that's his motivation, to be like Cap, to be
be
bigger than life, to have the chance to be with it, like you said, your favorite sports team.
It is, I don't know. Maybe I was just like a dick high schooler kind of, but like it kind of just took me out of it sometimes. It's like a real high schooler would fucking like abuse his superhuman powers to some extent to like win money and buy like a used convertible to impress like the cute girl at school.
Yeah.
Like, and then, like all of this just for like his only like father figure to be murdered in like cold blood because of his like shitty like high school attitude. Like that's where like youthful like recklessness ends and like the path to like responsibility begins. Like Spider-Man comics are all like about like responsibility and like guilt kind of, and like he's not really driven by anything. I mean, besides there's kind of this father figure like Tony Stark that he wants to impress, definitely, but by them not mentioning Uncle Ben, I don't know that he needs a father figure, like there's never, it's just kind of goofs, like with like
it seems like he's kind of been like a good guy right from the start. Like even in Civil War, he's just kind of like, yeah, sign me up, like I'll go help you out.
Like teenagers are supposed to be fucking hormonal and like they're doing things that they're not supposed to be doing.
Well,
like,
that's another. Well, that's kind of a thing. Like, since this is like we didn't get an origin story, we don't know that
exactly
his Uncle Ben set the the famous line, like, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
Like, that could be something that they might get into, like, the next film with, like, a flashback or something.
Right,
To
yeah.
show the motivation. But, like, at least this Spider-Man had a lot more fun. Like,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. He wasn't so whiny and complaining, like, the entire time.
Really, one of the few complaints I have about this movie is I'm like, why? Why are you like it's just kind of like, hey, I'm your cute high school crush in a fucking bathing suit. Like, why don't we get out of here and go into the pool? Be like, sorry, I gotta go on a mission that I made up myself. Like, it's just kind of like high school me would be like, yeah, fuck that. Like, or like, even if it was like the world's coming to an end, I'd be like, yeah, fuck that. I'm going with her. It's just like, it wasn't high school enough for me. In a weird part that this was a very high school movie too. But yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah, that was besides that, I really had a lot of fun. This is like a really funny movie.
It's almost more of a comedy than like a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Like there's some parts where like the comedic timing is like something you would see on like Adult Swim or something like that. Like, a lot of the stuff that happens on like the TV, like they found ways to kind of like get that sort of like a newer type of like humor in, like the one scene where like the two like kid newscasters, the one guy like asks her out and she's like, oh, I do have a date, and he's like, oh. Just kind of like sits there.
Right, yeah, and the way that it's cut, and it is like that corny kind of like high school
Like
like
bad
announcement.
public access,
yeah.
like news.
And yeah, in that way they're able to like throw like Tim and Eric kind of like humor in there,
Yeah,
where it's
bad
kind of
green
like
screen.
it's goofy and it's funny, and even everybody on his like I wish there was more high school, less Spider-Man in this movie, because I love like the debate team or
Decathlon?
yeah. Or Trivial Pursuit team, whatever the fuck they are.
We weren't on that at all in high school.
But I really love like that whole dynamic of I don't know, because it's got all of his friends in it. It's kind of got like the bully who is a logical bully for like a high school for like kids who
science,
excel at like
yeah.
math and science or something.
Yeah, it's different to see Flash Thompson not being like the jock
Yeah.
or something like that.
The fucking 28-year-old at your school, like,
Hey, Joe Manganiello, or like I was.
I have a full beard and I have a 401k all lined up.
I've already started to regress into like a beer belly. Like,
My parents don't love me enough.
Already talking about the glory days.
as much as I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, and they still kind of remain my favorite, they're just so like, Tobey Maguire is just like so old.
Yeah, that third
They're
one just
all-
broke my heart though, especially
I
that
don't even-
weird
I
Venom
blocked it
jazz
out of my mind.
dance scene thing. Oh
yeah.
god, I walked out of that movie and I just had to be by myself for like 20 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I can't look at the world right now.
Studio had a lot of interference with that, like with like the whole Spider-Man fever. They have like I was watching some sort of Tobey Maguire like they were like when they're like when they're first recording like an audition, I guess, I don't know, his first audition or
Oh,
whatever.
okay, all right.
But he's like fucking like, it looks completely different. It looks very Sam Raimi, but Peter Parker looks like Bruce Lee almost. He's kind of just like greased up and has no shirt on, and he's just fucking like killing guys who are like, oh fuck. Like, it was like, it's supposed to be very different. They also like show like this weird animatronic Green Goblin helmet that was supposed to be, and like even the crew was like really like too creeped out by it. But the studio was like, no, it's got to be like fucking silver, like, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I wish they let Sam Raimi just
Make the Spider-Man he wanted to make.
Yeah, yeah,
Make
exactly.
it the Evil Dead, but
Yes,
for Spider-Man.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. He wanted just Spider-Man like fucking murdering people in alleyways.
For Uncle Ben.
And then Bruce Campbell comes in with a chainsaw in his hand.
I do love like a lot of those. I miss some sort of like, there's some sort of flavor missing in this, where like I do love like those Sam Raimi like ridiculous like extras, like reaction shots where they're like, Red Letter Media was kind of talking about this, and they'll just show clips of like a woman like, oh yeah, and it's just, it has that like Evil Dead flavor
Yeah.
to it, and you're just kind of like, you wouldn't find this anywhere else. Like that would not fit into the Marvel universe like today. And
They
I
didn't
kind
have
of
those specifically, but they did kind of have like the flavor of New York, just with like some of the characters he interacts with, like the one guy who's like do a backflip, and then the one guy's just like go Spider-Man, go Iron Man,
And the deli guy.
oh yeah,
That was funny.
that was funny.
How's your aunt? Oh, how's your daughter? that was good.
They really
I do like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Like as much as I think I still consider the first Spider-Man to be my favorite Spider-Man movie. But I think Tom Holland might be my favorite Spider-Man that we've had yet. Where
that makes sense.
Like again, like Tobey Maguire was like way too old. Even Andrew Garfield was like a little old to be like playing Spider-Man at that point. And I feel like with each one, we've gotten closer to how I envisioned Spider-Man in the comics. Like Tobey Maguire was just kind of like not an action hero, but a movie star casting in there. And then Andrew Garfield gets closer to like the wisecracking of like Spider-Man, I feel like. And then this is where I think the closest we've got on screen of like how Spider-Man is just like sarcastic and he doesn't really care. He's loose all the time. But then we also get kind of like the awkwardness of being like a high schooler thrown in there too, which I think works really well.
Yeah,
and he actually looks like he's in high school.
Yeah.
So for once it actually works.
I would agree. And like I also like Andrew Garfield was too wisecracky for me. Like I liked it that they reeled back in, and it was kind of like it's a more realistic view.
It was an unnatural kind of wisecracking where it felt like punchline, like it felt like the quotes from a comic book.
Yeah, and
whereas this felt more natural while still being wisecracky.
Adapt into real life, even though this isn't like real life. It's just kind of like, I don't know. There has to be a form of realism where he's like, oh fuck, like instead of like, like, you know, like,
Oh no.
what did you guys think of the best friend
I
character?
loved him.
Ned?
Yeah, I really loved him too.
It was a welcome addition. So he could actually have a confidant that he could talk to who could be like us following along with the Spider-Man character.
Right, he's like the kind of like the Greek chorus. And he's not like a character that's in the comics, obviously. He's more of a combination of people, kind of. But it's so much fun to have Peter Parker talk to somebody.
Yes,
like, Spider-Man is such a lonely fucking character in all of the other Spider-Mans.
And it's nice because, like, in any other movie, like, the best friend of, like, the superhero would be like, you know, where have you been the past few weeks? We don't see you around here anymore.
Right.
And, like, giving him all this grief. It's nice to have him know and just be excited about it and, like, be a fan of Spider-Man, basically. And just, there's a lot of funny scenes that are based around that. Like, I really like when he finally sees Spider-Man for the first time and just, like, drops the ball.
Yeah.
And then, like, all the questions that he keeps asking him nonstop are really funny. There's a lot of like good comedy just based around this like best friend. Like the scene with the hat had me and Joe dying in the theater. Just like just the way he looks in that hat.
It gives me confidence. Aunt May, do I look pretty?
The fact that she compliments on him. He wanted to.
Yeah, that is really funny. She's great. But
What did you think about Aunt May?
She's great, but I feel like they really lean into that joke of like, she's hot, like kind of thing. Where like it was funnier to me when it was just Tony Stark being Tony Stark and being like, I want to fuck your aunt kind of like thing. Where it's kind of like, if everybody's like, I want to fuck your aunt, it's kind of like, all right. She was just like a great supporting character, and it felt more like a teen movie than it did like a superhero mom.
Yeah. I think it was always harder to relate to like Spider-Man having like grandparents essentially for like parents.
Which just doesn't even make sense. Even in the comics, it didn't make sense. Like,
right, yeah.
How old? What's the age difference between like his mom or his like? Yeah, it was just way too much.
Why is his uncle an old man?
Yeah,
like it just
because Peter Parker's dad is Ben's brother. Isn't that? I'm not the family relationship.
Yeah,
I think that's the family relationship.
Yeah,
but either way, they're still like
very far apart.
way far apart. But I didn't see any pain from her ever about like even losing a husband like anywhere.
Yeah, and they said it was somewhat recently.
I guess she's trying to distract herself.
Like,
Do you guys want to know my other big complaint about this movie?
Let's do it.
The scene where his best friend first, like you were just talking about when he drops like the Lego Death Star. Marvel owns Disney, Disney owns Star Wars and Marvel. Gotta fit in those Star Wars. I mean, I do.
And this podcast.
I mean, the fucking Death Star made out of Legos. That's every kid's dream.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little dated, kind of, but there's that whole scene where he discovers that he is Spider-Man. Besides that being, oh my gosh, somebody has discovered, my superhero persona or whatever. There's this very lengthy setup position to where like his best friend has this like look of shock on his face, and they're hiding the costume, and Peter Parker is standing there in his underwear when his aunt like walks in. And I feel like there was once a gay joke there, and then it didn't test well, and they feel like they had to do some sort of reshoot where like Aunt May had to like have a completely normal conversation with them and be like, Peter, put on some clothes, you goof, kind of. And it didn't work at all. Like, you could feel like the audience build up like, like she just walked in and he's in his underwear, and they both look like really guilty and shocked, kind of. And it's kind of like, do you guys want Thai food? And it was kind of like, the fuck? Like, it just sucked
she
the oxygen
should have
out
at
of
least
it.
just had like a confused look on her face,
Yeah.
kind of like, do you guys want Thai food? Like, she doesn't have to make a gay joke, because even if he had been in there with a girl and she walks in and he's there in his boxers, like any mom would be like,
Yes.
what are you guys doing in here? Like, something's going on.
That's the point, is shoot it with his clothes on, or shoot it with like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like this is normal, if you don't have Aunt May be sort of like homophobic or something. Because it is, like any scenario, gay or straight, walking in on your son or daughter, there's going to be some sort of reaction where you're like, they're in a room, if the door closed.
Although, look at that bod. He's probably shirtless all the time.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, because like, moms are like, if Aunt May is pretty much a mom at that point, like,
Right.
your kid's gonna get changed. Like, if he's like, my clothes are all sweaty, let me just hop into something quick, and she walks in.
But
like,
they're building
sorry
like the
about
Death
that.
Star in his room. She doesn't know that
yeah.
he was just being Spider-Man. Instead, she's like, I burnt the meatloaf, and you're in here with your fucking underwear, maybe getting like a hand job from your best friend. Like,
Building Star Wars sets gets me really sweaty, Aunt May. I'm really sweaty from all the Star
Do you know
Wars Lego
how many
stuff.
pieces the Death Star is?
She also like never questions the fact that he doesn't come through the door ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's a
that was
small-
weird.
It's a small New
That
York
was
apartment.
weird,
Like,
yeah.
you think she would know, like, how did you get in here? Like, how long have you been here?
There had to be
Are
some
you
sort
climbing up the fire escape?
I've just
It's dangerous.
I've been in the bathroom in the last 45 minutes, so I
Yeah.
guess you could have came. That Thai food really went through me.
And also, like, you keep... and it isn't till after, like, the ferry thing where she's like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be keeping tabs on you. Like, I'm your parent. Like, what do you do? It's like, before that, it's just kind of like, like... I mean, she does... Now that I think about it, she does be like, I know you are out late and you
I know you
sneak in.
sneak out every
Because you have that
Yeah,
internship.
Yeah.
Internship.
Right, yeah.
Quote unquote fingers.
And she is kind of a cool mom, because she drops him off at a party where it's pretty obvious that there's going to be like drinking and stuff going on.
And strippers.
She doesn't even really like give them like a big speech or anything.
Spoiler.
It's a weird Spider-Man. It's like slinging web onto a bunch of big titties.
Peter Parker's in the house.
This kid's like 15.
What are you doing? There's a lot of really cool... I think one of the biggest complaints, I know Mike and I were talking about this like way before this movie came out. Getting kind of deeper into the review now is there's a ton of really cool set pieces in this movie, but with a lot of the trailers, I felt like I was seeing the entire movie. Like, when the ferry was split in half, I was kind of like, well, Iron Man's going to fix it. I've seen this in the trailer.
yeah.
Or kind of like he's sneaking in during the scene we're just talking about, and it's like, well, his friend's going to discover that he's Spider-Man. It's kind of, there was like 5 or 6 like real big like reveals that I was kind of like, I know it's going to happen, kind of.
And the one thing that we were talking about, complaining about, was that they spoiled kind of like the confrontation between Tony and Spider-Man.
Right.
Later in the movie, when he's kind of giving the talk about like... He reveals like a pretty big line in the movie where he's like, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have the suit. Like,
right.
and it
Which
was
is
kinda,
near
like,
the end of the
spoiled in the
second
trailer.
act.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're very deep into the movie at that point. The only thing we really don't see in the trailers is the
Academic decathlon and some of that stuff.
right. Yeah, again, we do see the
monument.
at the monument. We don't really see the just the final set piece of the third act, which is fucking cool.
We do see a little bit of the plane in
Do we?
the trailers.
Oh yeah, that's
they
true.
do have-
He's got the web and he's turning the plane into that's true.
I honestly don't remember it, but I believe you guys.
There was a
Thank
lot.
you.
There was a lot. Of trailers.
There's so
I feel like it was mainly
promo
just
for
some of
this
the
movie,
the
yeah.
high school stuff that we didn't see in the trailers. They showed all the action set pieces pretty much though.
Right.
Hey fam, hope you're enjoying the episode, and please show some love to our sponsor, Spiders Will Eat Your Face, available on Amazon Prime, Instant Watch, and Amazon.com. Spiders Will Eat Your Face is a documentary about the history of pet tarantulas in America. That is Spiders Will Eat Your Face, the movie, on Amazon. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, like I didn't know. I mean, I don't even think I had read his name when I was just going through the cast. I thought he was like a bigger part than Donald Glover, who they keep fucking plastering kind of on the poster or something. But Martin Starr was the like debate team coach or whatever.
Oh, he was pretty funny.
He was pretty funny.
Jim Coach was funny too.
Oh, Hannibal Buress.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's like a war criminal or something. that reoccurring like Captain America.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Talking about the faculty staff of the high school, did you notice the principal?
He's like he had like I saw it when he had like the picture frame behind him, but that had something to do with Captain America.
So he's the same actor who played one of the Howling Commandos from Cap's team back in World War II. So it was like he had a photo of his grandfather from World War II, and it was just the same actor playing both parts.
Yeah,
I thought that was a lot of fun. That was a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah,
right there.
there's a bunch of cool Easter eggs. For example, like we were talking about that before, but the one person that Vulture does kill during this movie, shocker. Who I said
number one.
Right, yeah. Who I was sad to see die at first, because like he and like Mysterio are always villains I've wanted to see on like the big screen. They were always like the coolest to me. But then Vulture's like, I guess you're a Shocker now too, or like you're the new Shocker or something. Which I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, Shocker the guy who played Shocker number 2, his character's name is the same character's name as in the comics.
Oh, okay.
So they put the one who was in the movie longer had the actual comic book character's like given name.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
it was kind of I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, oh no, they just killed the Shocker. That was gonna be so cool.
He was cool too. He had like the bright yellow sleeves or whatever on like this like
Yeah, I kind of wanted
Letterman
him
jacket.
to be the Shocker that was around longer.
because he was more of a dick too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, I liked his like fuck you attitude. I've heard a lot of people say this, but I kind of also thought this. I thought that was Tom Hardy for a minute.
He looks like it. He did look
like Tom
because
Hardy.
Tom Hardy is slated to play like Venom in like a standalone movie.
Really?
Yeah. Then some
So I
rumors
thought that
around
was some sort of Easter egg setup, kind of.
There's so much stuff that like I feel like they, because I don't know if they're actually planning any of this stuff or they just put it in there just in case they want to set it up in the future. Like Donald Glover's character is Aaron Davis.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had to look it up, but that's the Prowler.
Does
from the
anybody know
comics.
that without looking it up?
I'm sure probably someone
Okay,
does.
yeah.
Like
It was like a
1% of the
comic book
movie.
from like 2000.
And the Scorpion was in it too. The guy who was
Yeah,
gonna
the
be
guy at the
Scorpion.
jail at the end.
Oh, the guy with the eye.
Yeah, yeah.
I could tell they were trying to like hint at something. And I was like, I'm not getting it.
At that point, I was like, maybe in the third of the trilogy, they want to do some sort of like Sinister Six kind of, because Scorpion is in that. But I was like, there's so much. They're just dropping set. There's a part of me that was like, I like that they didn't spend like a large part of this movie being like, we're a part of this universe right now, or like, we got to set up the next movie. And they kind of are when you look a little more closely, but it didn't get in the way of the movie. Again,
Yeah,
that was an
it wasn't
after credit
blatant.
scene. Yeah.
I do kind of hope that there is a Prowler movie in the future, just because Joe and I talked about this, but like there was the whole thing. Do you remember where it was like everyone was calling for Donald Glover to be the next Spider-Man?
Yeah. Where he was supposed to be Miles Morales.
Yeah,
or
and then it's
where
like
he
now
wanted to
they
be.
put Donald Glover in this movie, in a Spider-Man movie, but they make him kind of like almost like a racial stereotype. Like I know that's what the character is, but like in this movie, he's just kind of like a armed thug and like a armed robber.
Yeah,
and a felon.
I had beef with that because it was like, I don't think Sony was ready to be like, yeah, like, let's have a black Spider-Man, kind of. And then this Spider-Man was like, hey, we're cool with Donald Glover. Hey, Donald Glover, play a black guy. Like, kind of. It was, like, really, like... And I know
it would be nice if they went further
black,
and then that was setting up an actual thing and not just being like, hey, here's a bone that we're throwing. You can play, you know, a typical black role rather than, like, kind of subverting the Spider-Man thing. So we're not willing to do that, but you can be a thug.
Prowler's a cool character, though. He's, like, a bit of an anti-hero and... Like,
which is why it would
good
be cool.
and
It
bad
would
at
be
the same
great
time.
that if they would make an actual Prowler movie. And then they could set up in the future the actual Miles Morales Spider-Man storyline too, as well.
Right.
When they reboot it for the 4th time.
Right, because who knows how long Tom Holland's going to be around, and then that'll be the next Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah.
But it was awesome. I don't know. That could have been like Donald Glover's idea, where he's like, what if I play it like a little more like thug, and he's got like that squinty eye. I don't. He could just like, at that time, he could just be coming off of like Atlanta, and he'd be like, let me like really embrace this like kind of character. I don't know. It was like a little.
I honestly don't even remember when he was trying to buy the guns from the gun,
like the arms dealers.
Yeah, the arms dealers. Was he even looking for something to rob somebody, or was he saying he wanted for protection? I don't remember.
He was
knock something off, or
could you get me a beer too, Mike? Yeah. All right. Yeah, he was like, I just need somebody. I just need something to stick somebody up. I don't need something to send somebody back in time or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which is that slang for like blowing somebody up, sending them back in time?
No, I think that was just how
advanced the technology was.
Yeah, how crazy those guns are.
There used to be this Hey Arnold episode where all of Hey Arnold and his friends make this big elaborate prank about how they're aliens and aliens have landed. It's an elaborate hoax, and they trick all the parents, and Helga Pataki's dad, who's like a military veteran, has like he's like, luckily, I've stored like a bunch of explosives from when I was still in the military. I'm gonna fucking kill these aliens, kind of. He's talking about killing his own daughter and all these kids dressed up as aliens. And then he says something. He says, I'm about to send these motherfuckers like back in time.
Oh, they said it on Hey Arnold?
He did not say motherfuckers. He says, I'm about to send these like aliens back in time. And I was like, as a little kid, I was like, that's weird. Does the military have, you know, like, or like that type? So like when he said that during this, and like I get it, like the fucking explosions look like some sort of like sci-fi portal or something. But I was like, is that something that people say when they're like about to obliterate something? It was like, I'm about to send this back in time or something. I don't know.
If it wasn't, it is now.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody out there,
comment in the SoundCloud or YouTube link below for that random tangent of simple misunderstandings of when Joe was a kid.
Whenever you play Call of Duty, just shoot somebody. Say, I'm going to take you back in time.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to Marty McFly this bitch.
Speaking about that, I think one of my few complaints with this movie is that I felt like, and this is more just the Marvel Universe in general, is that I feel like some of the technology is just too hard for me to kind of make that logic jump and suspend my disbelief for. Like, especially in this one, like they have like the automated like flying Iron Man drones that like not only can like fly somewhere automatedly, but then actually make like human gestures and stuff like that. Like when he's talking to him.
Weren't those in the movie though?
They were in the Iron Man
movies.
Right, but that's still like it's a bit much for me, especially in Iron Man, because now it makes more sense because all the aliens have crashed and they've been able to
get the 8 years later title tag.
Yeah, harvest the technology and like make our own technology by reverse engineering stuff. But I don't, it's just so much stuff that it almost kind of ungrounds the movie a little bit. Especially, I really didn't like the like spider drone that comes out of his suit. Like, it was just like a weird power that I don't remember Spider-Man ever having in the comics. It's a little too un-Spider-Man for me.
Yeah,
and it's like it's really hard to wrap your head around like all that technology being in like this tiny little thing that can return perfectly to the suit and be fine here. Like, even though he's getting like punched all the time and being in battles, like, wouldn't that thing get destroyed? And there's just too much logic jumps for me to be about, because I don't think it adds a whole lot to the movie having this like spider drone thing.
Yeah, even in the Civil War comics, when Tony Stark gives him like a suit, like it didn't have that much stuff in it. So yeah, definitely understand where you're coming from, and like the like a 40 different types of webbing that he can have.
Yeah.
In like, I don't know, it just seemed a little much.
It was, yeah. And they said this on Red Letter Media, but I agreed. When Peter Parker and like his best friend kind of hack the training wheels like protocol like off of his suit, and then all of a sudden Spider-Man or Peter Parker like all of a sudden it fucking like opens up like an Iron Man interface kind of, and it's like and I was like, oh no. Is like the rest of the movie gonna be like Spider-Man for the fucking 21st century, baby? Like, you know, like this is a real Spider-Man, like, you know, like, and I'm glad that was a plot device for like, you're not ready for like what Tony Stark deals with, kind of, you know. It's
even like the AI in his suit was like almost a little too intelligent for me. Like, I remember there was stuff with
that was like
Jarvis and the Iron Man where it was like there was some stuff that he just didn't understand, and there's a little bit about that, whereas like this, like he's able to talk about like emotions with her, and she understands and can give advice about that.
It became
and then
her very quickly.
When he
I
sees,
said the same thing in the movie theater. I was like, this is her.
and then when
right
he
there.
sees his crush, like it's able to recognize that and be like, you should kiss her. Like, I understand that's for a punchline, but like there's just a little bit too much with the technology.
It's also like the artificial intelligence is kind of, that kiss her line kind of bugged me, or like tell her how you feel. It doesn't seem like something Tony Stark would program into a suit, kind of. I know AI kind of
And it's not
learns
like
on itself, but it, like that would compromise like
he never
identities.
he never gave the name of this person. He never like scanned a photo of her like into the database, so it had to just facially recognize and through some weird logic jump come to the conclusion that that's the girl he's talking about, and then make a suggestion of like romantic
the suit totally hacked into
like,
his Facebook. Yeah. What else do you have on this computer?
Spent a really long time looking at that bathing suit shot.
I think speaking of like the suit, it does take away a bit of the fun, but then it also makes it better when he loses the suit, because then that's a really nice plot point that he kind of does a lot of the last stuff just with like the crappy suit that he has on his own. And I like that that's a plot point of like, again, that's why I hated that they spoiled it in the trailer, but like if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have the suit. Like that's kind of like a really nice message for this movie of kind of like prove yourself first, and then you can have all the technology that we have as the Avengers.
It is this nice device, and I'm glad he's not fucking Tobey Maguire, who somehow has webs sprouting from his wrist, kind of. You know, even though that's a very Sam Raimi thing to do.
Does he build his own stuff in the comics? Does anyone remember?
He has, like, because he
is stupid
he's a
smart
guy.
Okay.
So what does the spider bite give him then? The spider senses, and then just
the strength,
the
strength,
abs.
agility,
yes,
reaction
that
time,
hot teen bod.
Yeah,
right. The ability to jerk off his friend while he's building the Death Star.
Talking about powers, I didn't see them use any spider sense. Nothing like that, and I actually enjoyed that. That they didn't have like this like heads up display, like, oh, here's something coming. Like they didn't make it obvious, or it could just be he's really quick reaction time.
Yeah, I was about to say, again, with all the other things that they're avoiding, I feel like Daly and Goldstein, the writers and their football team of writers, made like a list of sort of like Spider-Man movie cliches that we've already seen, and they made some sort of checklist, so like when they were like writing out this script, they could kind of like avoid showing us the same thing twice. So I feel like Spidey sense, the Andrew Garfield movies, there's like a hole in my brain where like they should be. Like I remember like the Sam Raimi's one, so I don't know, like I can remember that kind of like Tobey Maguire being like, you know, like he sees like a spitball flying, and he sees like a really shittily
like heightened reality,
like a
the bullet shot from the Matrix.
Year 2000, like CG paper airplane or something. And it's like when the bully goes to punch him, he's kind of like, it's like that bullet time kind of thing going on. So maybe they went a little too overboard on the Spidey sense before then. And I don't know. That's a really weird thing to explain, too. And also, we don't get to see him being bit by the spider. It's like a lot of the other... Yeah.
Now that we're kind of like later, want to talk about maybe like the sort of twist of the movie, which I really, really liked.
Fucking floored me.
Yeah, spoiler alert, but it's once it happens, you kind of realize how well established it really is.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen this movie yet, I do recommend that you guys go see this.
We'll go into full spoiler
This
mode
is
now.
full spoiler alert. If you want the movie ruined for you,
Keep listening.
continue listening.
So when he ends up asking out his crush to the dance, and then he goes to her house to pick her up, and who opens the door is Michael Keaton.
Yes.
As the Vulture.
And I love that he's completely put the Spider-Man life behind him.
Yeah.
You know? And it's, can you go to the dance and spending this time with the aunt? And it's completely like this. It's nice because it's like almost what I wanted.
He's trying to be. He's trying to be a normal kid, and the real world kind of like butts in there.
Yes.
But like, it's such a great twist because even as an audience member, your first thought is like, oh no, he captured like his crush. He found out who she is, and you're kind of right there with Spider-Man being like, oh, you're her dad. Oh shit. It's a really nice twist, and then when in hindsight you realize how well established it is because when he's at the party at her house, it's like this beautiful like mansion like party, and then you kind of put that together with like how much money Michael Keaton is making selling these arms, and then you think about how many times he's talking about like my family, my daughter, my family, my daughter, like that's in there for a reason, so that it makes sense when this like twist actually comes about.
And it kind of makes him a little more evil, in my opinion. Just because there is some point where I'm like, why don't they show his like fucking family or struggling family or like daughter with cancer or something? Somebody help me like sympathize with this character because he's like this blue collar kind of character who is the little guy, fighting against these big corporate structures and the government and Tony Stark or whatever. And then you see this and you see like this really gigantic, beautiful like house, and you're kind of like, this is kind of like he's more like Walter White than he is kind of like
he's fighting to keep that lifestyle that he was denied before that. That's why
he's keeping up with the Joneses kind of more than he is I gotta fucking provide. Like,
well, that's why I think
you're done providing.
That's why I think that intro is good because it shows like you can really feel it in the scene when they like are about to take the contract away, and he's like these people got like I have a family. Like I'm gonna lose my house if we don't have this contract. Like, so he's obviously like scraping by and like staking everything on that before then, and then now it's just kind of trying to keep up with that lifestyle and continue providing for his family the way he has been before that.
Right.
I also think it works really well in terms of playing into the whole like high school theme where it's like, I mean, it's called Spider-Man Homecoming for a reason because it's, what would Spider-Man be like if he was in high school the entire time, and what is that kind of dichotomy like? And it's almost like, it almost ends up working as like a weird, like, metaphor is not the right word, but it's like the villain is your crush's dad in a way, and like that's like a hard thing to do to begin with, to meet your crush's dad, like to pick her up from the dance. But then what if he's actually like a supervillain who's like trying to like sell arms to like people that will, kill tons of people with these, crazy advanced alien weapons. So I thought that was a really nice like way to work that theme in.
The other thing is that they're not even like, planning like
supervillain stuff. That's a bad word for them.
Yeah, they're not trying. Again, nobody's getting killed in these kind of. They're robbing ATMs, kind of.
As far as we know, as far as we've
right,
seen.
That is true. They're giving it to the they're selling it off to the criminal element, and God knows what they're doing with it. So it is that is very true. So I mean, but still. It's just this premise is Spider-Man is being like stealing is bad, like that was all of like the Spider-Man comics. All of his villains were just kind of like I'm gonna rob a bank. It was never like I'm gonna fucking crush the world, Yeah,
and it's nice to get away from that like big blue light in the sky about to destroy the city being the climax. Like the climax of this was just he's gonna get a big score, and Spider-Man's like that's important enough for me to try and stop him.
Michael Keaton's so great as a fucking dad, too. Like, that scene would have not worked if he was not able to nail that fucking performance.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, I love my baby, like, you look so beautiful, kind of. And it's like, just kind of being that dad where he's kind of like cooking something or like getting something out of the fridge and like half talking to Peter or whatever and being like, "Oh, Pedro," or something like.
Yeah, like the teasing the kid.
It's like it's well written, but like it's more well acted. Like he's just like he goes from being this, just you have to. If you're going to be the boss of this kind of like blue collar construction, whatever, you have to be a little like Tony Soprano kind of.
Yeah.
But then at home, you come home and you're just
dad.
You're just first name Lou, like like you're just your dad. Yeah.
Yeah, and he also,
of a teenage
he
daughter.
keeps it a secret from them because that's really the reason why he kills that one guy.
Yeah.
Right. He said, "How would you feel if I
told your wife and family
where all this money comes from?"
It's also kind of interesting to see Michael Keaton as Vulture just after like Birdman, where he was kind of like a bird-like superhero. Like that's just kind of like an interesting casting.
There's also
coincidental.
a scene too where he's like where Spider-Man almost drowns because his parachute goes off and Vulture drops him or whatever. Like, and as he's like plummeting towards the ground, there's like the shot that like looks up at Vulture in front of the moon, kind of, and it looks very much like when Michael Keaton was in Batman. There's like a bat signal that kind of goes in front of the moon, and that looked like very
the Batwing.
Yeah. It looked so much like that scene that I was like, this can't be like coincidental. Like that has to be some sort of Easter eggs. It's multiple. They're hidden.
Because he's a bird.
Well,
I think the only other like spoiler-like thing I wanted to talk about was like Zendaya as Michelle or MJ. Like I liked her as this character. I thought that was really nice. Like I kind of hated her in the trailer a little bit,
right?
Just because it was almost kind of obvious that she was going to be. She's just too big of a persona to just be a side character in a superhero movie. Like they've got something bigger planned for her. So
really?
You didn't have that feeling watching the trailer?
I didn't. No.
I was like, she's not just going to be like the wisecracking sidekick in this. Like, there's.
Well, I thought she would be a love interest, and I didn't know how much a love interest would take part in this plot. I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I knew that she would be small in this movie, but she must mean something to this universe. Otherwise, why cast Zendaya? Like, there's cheaper people you can get for a side role in a movie like this.
Right.
And she's featured pretty prominently in the trailer for being a pretty minor character in this movie.
But I don't know. It was high school, and that's his crush. I feel like
Zendaya's not.
Wait, who's Zendaya?
Zendaya's like the outcast one.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
I don't know who the
mixing
other girl
up.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean now. Yeah. The MJ thing.
Yeah. So like that reminded me of like. The reveal of her being MJ reminded me of in Dark Knight Rises when they do that whole shit at the end with Joseph Gordon-Levitt of like, oh, you should use your real name more. It's nice, Robin. And it's just like, just tell us in the beginning. Like, you don't need to save this to the end. You don't have to do some like backhanded.
That's not his name.
Yeah, and Michelle is not Mary Jane's name. It's Mary Jane.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a weird, sneaky thing that, like, I don't think the payoff warrants the kind of deception that they have to do and the way they kind of have to, like, bend things. Like, it would still be just as cool of a reveal if in the beginning you said, oh, what's your name? And she said MJ.
Right.
You don't even have to say that it's Mary Jane or anything. Like, we know who MJ is in the Spider-Man universe.
There's that,
it's just a little thing that they could have done better, and it really bugged me. Mm-hmm. She's a good character in this movie, though. Like, she has a lot of great punchlines.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the kind of turning around and subverting the MJ character, where it's no longer just kind of a rebellious redhead who's like super smoking hot. It's like an actually kind of outcast, rebellious, almost goth type teen, which is kind of cool to see MJ in that role.
To tack on to the whole like Donald Glover kind of plays a black character, I love how this is like the most diverse school ever. The main character is just still like a white kid, kind of. Like, it's kind of like there's never been such a diverse cast in like really any high school movie or like any superhero movie. But we just have like this Asian best friend, all of these different, MJ is
It's a step forward. The next step is to make the lead be someone non-white.
Exactly.
Or maybe let Donald Glover be Spider-Man. Although I do have to say,
It could have been someone else, but I do like Tom Holland a lot as Spider-Man. And I do like the choice to go younger in the casting a whole lot in this movie. I don't think Donald Glover could have done the type of Spider-Man that we have in this movie.
I would have liked Donald Glover in Andrew Garfield's place.
Yeah, that would have been a better casting choice. Although I did like Andrew Garfield. Minus his weird hair. That didn't fit for Spider-Man.
I'm glad Vulture looked how he did in this movie. In the comics, he is a bald man in a green feathered suit with wings. It's not a great...
This is pretty cool.
I think they even went as far before Sam Raimi was like, I fucking hated the third Spider-Man movie. You guys took that away from me. I'm not doing a fourth movie. And then Tobey Maguire eventually walked. I think before that, the studio had already casted, I don't know who, but somebody as Vulture for the fourth movie. Yeah.
It is kind of a cool character design to have like the bomber jacket to kind of create that like feathery thing that's around, like I'm sure that's in like the feather costume that he's wearing in the comics and stuff. Like
he's just wearing a spandex like green feathered suit in the comics.
Right, but it probably has like something to replicate what
Kind of,
Vulture's
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
It's just a nice thing to little cool costume design.
I agree.
He was here the whole time.
Some of the again, I know we're getting to the end. We're probably gonna show some fingers soon, but the scene where Vulture kind of has a fucking warehouse collapse on Peter Parker. The framing is weird in a lot of this movie, but the framing is especially bizarre in that scene. We're just seeing like it's really dark, which I understand, and there's just like parts of his body cut out. It's like a little too close.
The Vulture or Spider-Man?
No. Just when Spider-Man is trying to lift himself out of the rubble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although I can sort of understand that because it's how do you fully show someone who's underneath rubble? The only way to see it is from the front. But yeah, I did notice that where I was like, this is kind of a weird. I feel like I haven't seen this kind of shot in a movie before.
It's
and
very
not in a good
bizarre.
way.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the Spider-Man looks in a puddle and sees half his face, half Spider-Man kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular imagery, and maybe they use that in other movies. I know they've used that in the comic book multiple times.
It's in one of the movies where half of his face, the mask gets like blown off in the Tobey Maguire ones.
Yeah.
Themes, imagery. He also lands in front of a fucking American flag like once or twice during this movie, and I was just kind of like, why do we need to fucking do this in every movie?
Of course.
Every
I
movie.
noticed that in this one.
Yeah, he'll just like kind of perches in front of an American flag. I'm like, fuck off.
The only really thing that took me out of the movies was a couple of the school scenes, like when the gangsters were walking around in a New York City school.
Oh, yeah, like
with
just
firearms and like a Geiger counter or something.
I'm about to fucking kill some high school
yeah,
kids.
yeah. No, they're like in New York City. There's like security guards on every single door in the
Metal
school. It's like,
detectors.
yeah, and then Happy shows up too, like just hanging
Oh,
around
yeah,
the bathroom.
standing, yeah.
yeah.
That was
Totally.
a comedic scene though, where the
it
kid
was
has
so
to
Happy
much-
makes
it was
more
so
sense
good,
because
yeah.
I'm sure the Avengers have the clearance to do whatever the heck they
Right.
want.
Yeah.
The other guys don't make any sense.
Low-level arms dealers find their way into a like tech high school's like
Shop.
wood shop,
Yeah,
kind
wood shop.
of.
Yeah, metal shop or whatever.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, just like
it was
walking around
very
with
bizarre.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was like, this just nope, not gonna
Also
happen.
thought I was a little confused because they had like a device that I thought was working like a tracker, and I thought they were going to come right up to like Peter Parker and his friend, but instead they like took another turn, and one guy had in its backpack. I thought it was going to be like beep 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 beep, and I
That
thought
was
they were
weird
because
because they were saying like, oh, it was here at one point, but it's not here now. So it's like
we
it's only
tracked
picking up on the
previous
essence of
radiation,
it.
yeah.
or-
Well, like when he smashed it out of the remaining parts of the.
Oh, okay. Was there
it-
like
there
a
was
navigation
pulse.
advice?
There was like an energy pulse
Oh,
that
okay.
they were tracking.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So that was the location
That
of when
makes
the
more
pulse
sense.
happened.
While we're talking about like weird errors in the plot, like this one, we were supposed to overlook, but I had a hard time overlooking it. But the whole like he's on the school trip to DC, he doesn't show up for the decathlon.
Nobody ever mentions that.
But
either,
then they
yeah.
just go on like that would never happen on a school trip. If one of the kids is not accounted for, then they would be like, well, we're not going anywhere until we find this kid. That would be their number one responsibility. They don't call anyone. They don't do anything. They just go to the decathlon and then they go take tours of DC after that. Like, that's a little too much for me to kind of suspend my disbelief for.
Good point.
Like, I know it has to happen for the plot, but like, there's got to be some other clever way to let him not be on the school trip, but also have them be concerned. I know they wanted to have like the set piece of the Washington Monument or whatever, but that would never happen on a school trip. Like, I've been on tons of school trips, like through choir and stuff like that when I was in high school, and they had head counts at like every single location we went to before we went to the next one. It's like, how many kids do we got? 250? All right, we're going to the next place. And a group of like 10 kids, they would notice if one kid was gone, and they would not go anywhere until they found out where he was, because it's a huge liability and lawsuit waiting to happen.
Peter Parker's just a fucking buzzkill sometimes during this movie. I wanted one fucking scene where
Him
he
using
kind
his
of
powers for
lets loose. Like, I thought that's what
scene.
party scene was going to be, where he does show up as Spider-Man and he's kind of like, what? Like, you know, like...
that was a little bit of a tease, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't... He has military fucking discipline the entire time to be Spider-Man. Yeah, and that is like what bothered me. Yeah,
and again, now that we're in spoiler territory, we can talk about this. But at the very end, it does kind of hint that maybe the other ones will be more like that, because he has the opportunity to go join the Avengers, which he's been trying for the entire movie, and he opts to, you know what, I'm going to go back to high school and just kind of live my life for a little bit. So he does sort of make that choice at the end, but we don't get it in this movie. It's also like
a super mature choice.
He did commandeer Flash's car, though, so that was like, he did do a little, like a tiniest bit. Yeah. But he could have done so much more. Just like,
he is also like an honor student, and they definitely have like a higher sense of like moral compass and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Joe remembers.
Like their idea of like rebellious activity in the movie is when they all go, like, they don't even go skinny dipping; they just go swimming in the pool at like 11 o'clock at night.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the kind of rebellious activity that these kids consider at that age, at that school.
I can't talk enough about that kid who plays Flash, though. He's from what's it called, the Grand Budapest Hotel. Yeah. I saw him in something else too recently, where he's playing like a more straight-laced kid. It's definitely, I don't know whether he plays it so well, or it's just goofy to see him as a bully, kind of. It's this mix of like, I love that casting. Yeah. It's
he
really
plays
great.
it well. Yeah, but it's kind of a weird casting. Like, I don't know if I can really see him as being a bully or even like popular at that school, because like he looks nerdier than like.
But he's rich.
Peter Parker. That's true. He's rich. That is part of it. He's rich. But like Tom Holland looks like he would be the most popular kid at the school, because he's only like attractive one at that school.
Exactly. Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is like kind of what Flash Thompson should be to some degree. Like, he's the popular jock. Like, you know, he's got all the girls under his arm in every scene.
This
guy seems like a guy who thinks he's cool, but is really like DJing and doing like really douchey stuff.
DJ Eugene Thomas.
He is. He's more of a rich kid who's lashing out, kind of. Yeah. But yeah, you want to get in some finger ratings?
Daddy ready?
I'll tell you how many fingers.
I'll show you how many fingers I'm gonna give.
Hey, Peter Parker,
get over here.
It's your high school bully. I'm 38.
On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, they reported a 93% rating based on 212 reviews, with an average rating of 7.6 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, Spider-Man Homecoming does whatever a second reboot can, delivering a colorful, fun adventure that fits snugly in the sprawling MCU without getting bogged down in franchise building.
That's good.
Accurate. Rotten Tomatoes always does good consensuses of their...
They do. They're better than the IMDb
yes.
hot descriptions, that's for sure.
Peter Parker, comma.
Peter Parker. Fuck. A comma.
I can go first if you guys aren't ready.
Go for it.
This movie is like seriously funny and entertaining. Like,
it is, yeah.
It's definitely not like a perfect movie to any degree, but like I was never bored. And most of that was because of like the comedy and the performances in this movie, where you cared about these characters because you wanted to see the next joke that they were going to make. And it felt like a comedy in that way. And I think it has a decent script that kind of allows you to be invested in the story without like pulling you out of it too much for logic jumps, except for a few of the examples that we've listed. The MJ one being one of the biggest ones for me, and then some of the technology and stuff. And then I like the fact that it breaks a lot of the superhero molds and the Spider-Man molds and like movies within the MC universe molds, and is just kind of allowed to be its own movie despite being like the second or third reboot of like Spider-Man, which I think is pretty impressive. And it doesn't, like the Rotten Tomatoes score says, it doesn't jam like franchise building down your throat at all. Like it just feels like Spider-Man being Spider-Man, and Tony feels like an actual character in this, and not just a, hey, we have the rights to Tony Stark, let's make a cameo from him. Like even Happy feels like an actual character in this.
Tony was a little weak though. I haven't said that, but I felt like his kind of...
Yeah, and that is a product of probably we've already had like 15 movies, it feels like, that have had Tony Stark the character. Like that's all Robert Downey Jr. does now, is just act for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they don't really need to establish him too much more. So he's different in that way, and that's
I just
where
wanted them to be more funny, I guess. In a funny movie, I thought maybe
he is actually the least funny character.
And he was
this.
like the 80s kid. Like the 80s, like
He was.
the teenage 80s movies were all about
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my only other real complaint is just that it was a little long. Even if it wasn't, it felt a little long. Like I felt like the movie kind of ended, and then we had to just like wrap up like a million different storylines, and it just kept going and going and going.
Right.
It could have been a lot shorter. There's a lot of things that I probably could have cut. Chief among them being like the home movie sequence at the beginning. I felt like that wasted a lot of time, where we could have just gotten right into the plot right away. And it could have been maybe a little bit more focused. And I think I would have appreciated maybe a tiny bit more heart in it. Like it was very funny. I was very entertained. But like the only time it sort of got sentimental was like when he was like crying as he was like trying to like lift himself up from that. I think I would have appreciated just maybe like a tiny reference to Uncle Ben, or, you know, something where like maybe his friends were in danger and that kind of drove him in that way. But it was kind of like a really personal movie for Spider-Man. But it doesn't destroy the movie in any way. There's a lot of great things, like I've said, the humor and just how entertaining and fun it is. It's just a cool universe to be in. So I'll give it 4 out of 5 fingers. It way better than I expected it to be after seeing the trailers.
Oh,
I
definitely.
thought it looked fun, but I was like, well, now we've seen everything. I think there are some things that we didn't see that were also pretty cool in this. I didn't expect it to be this funny from the trailers, because the trailers are not very funny at all. So 4 fingers out of 5.
Very cool. Jim, would you like to take the mic?
Sure thing. Yeah, no,
I take this mic home. I
will gladly
it's yours
do so.
now.
Oh my god, you
won
guys are
the mic.
Joe, those are expensive.
I feel so honored. I'm gonna put this on my mantle by the fireplace that I have to build. No, I really, really enjoyed this movie. It surprised me, because it's so tiring. This is the 3rd reboot of Spider-Man. But they actually brought joy back to the character, because in a lot of these movies he's so mopey, and I understand like you lost your uncle, but when you put on the mask, you get to be somebody else. You get to have fun. You get to be the superhero. You get to be the man. So I did feel like this movie brought a lot more joy to being the character himself, which I really appreciated. And yeah, just overall, it was like you were saying, like you hit on a lot of points that I was like, oh my god, I think we're best friends now, because we're seeing this really similarly.
Did that just happen?
Oh my god! But no, it was.
You can be Joe standing.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed like how Marvel does with all their films. They make each movie feel like a completely different genre, but they still all wrap it up really nicely together. And I was really kind of weary of the whole Sony Marvel team up.
That is,
of like how they were going to mesh, but for however they did it, these two huge companies really pulled it through and did a really good movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 4 fingers as well. But
Nice.
yeah.
Peace signs.
Peace signs. 2 fingers for each hand.
That's really true, because Sony had a rough year last year. I can't even think of everything. I mean, I know they had the new Ghostbusters, which I was not a big fan of. I don't know.
Did
Sony's
they get
just
hacked again?
what?
I feel like they got hacked again.
Oh, please no. Please no.
No. It's just like they've been through a lot, and they really came up with this one. This was also the second. I mean, next week you can listen to our review of Baby Driver that we did, which was also done by Sony, I think, right? And then it was also filmed in Atlanta, which this was, I think, primarily filmed in Atlanta, except for when they needed to do like on location stuff in New York. But yeah, I thought, just some other. I've said a lot of how I feel about this movie already. I just want to pick up loose ends, shit that I didn't mention yet. Again, I think one of the highlights. Oh, we forgot to talk about like the kind of the reoccurring Captain America instructional fitness video. we did talk about that, and like it was funny. It was like the presidential fitness challenge public service announcement, like something that he had to do or whatever.
And it was very Steve Rogers too.
Oh yeah. It was great. But if you stay to the very, very, very end after the credits, it was kind of this tease where he goes into like he's trying to explain to teens that like waiting
Patience is important. And...
Patience is important, and it doesn't always like pay off, it was just kind of this like, you waited this long after the movie and we have nothing else to show you kind of thing. And it was kind of disappointing, and it was kind of like the joke wasn't all there. Like I wish there was more of a setup for that joke kind of. But some guy in the theater where Mike and I saw it fucking lost his shit, and he was
still laughing as we walked out of the theater.
Yeah. Some people were like, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then he was the only one who was laughing, to the point where he was going in and out of crying for like a while, like laughing so hard. And I just feel like he wanted something else, and he was just kind of like,
I wanted an actual teaser.
Had to deal with like the fate that there was no new like enemy or like sequel setup, and he was just like, ah! Like just kind of like laughed, crying out loud, and like everybody around us was making comments. They were like, "Is that guy okay?" Yeah, like. This is like the only movie that we've seen together, like you and I, that we've reviewed in a very long time too. I feel like the last one that we saw together was The Jungle Book.
Yeah, and I fell asleep during that.
And like slept through.
Did you guys share popcorn?
Yes.
I don't think we
ever. I had a hole in the bottom of no theater popcorn makes
a hole in the
me
bottom. There was no
physically-
popcorn in the box.
Theater popcorn makes me physically ill.
Really?
We talked about this. Yeah, I get like explosive diarrhea like the next day when I wake up, and I'm like,
Joe blows his toilet back in time.
I'll just take I'll just ask the guy for a cup, and I'll just fill it up with just the pure butter
and just drink it.
Go.
Oh no!
Just fill it up with the butter, bro.
I don't want that. I think my only other thing was that I read some critic earlier, I guess after this premiered, that the movie's more of a John Hughes movie than a superhero movie, and that really offset my like expectations of this movie, because there is a lot of John Hughes imagery. They literally fucking zoom in on somebody watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off as he's running through all the backyards, which I really like that scene. But do you get the reference? Like,
are we throwing it in your face enough?
Yeah. But I feel like that critic really misspoke. I think there's more high school and parent problems, kind of like John Hughes-ish stuff in the Sam Raimi film than there is in this film. I feel like there's so much superhero stuff in this film. And that, and again, I said that was kind of a complaint of mine earlier. But yeah, fuck that critic, because he really offset what I was expecting of this movie. I was like, oh, cool, maybe it's like a teen comedy movie, and there's like a flair, like there's a little bit of like, I gotta become like a superhero too, and I have to gain responsibility through this, where it was a little different. It was just not in a bad way, but yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed Tom Holland's performance. I love the bumbling, awkward, just bad at being Spider-Man. Again, I like that the stakes were low. I like that there was no really sequels to set up. The end credits, since we waited through them, were kind of weird to me. Because it was a blasting Ramones song, and it was cool and creative, and there was spray paint time lapse and claymation animation, and I was kind of I feel like you're trying to trick me into thinking I was watching a more creative movie than I actually watched, kind of. It was still kind of that bland Marvel coloring and shotting and framing kind of shotting.
A lot of people have said that they thought this movie was very colorful, and I don't know that I agree with that. It's the same as the rest of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
I think there's
natural daylight shots. There's only one or two shots that are even at golden hour, and that's just sky replacement probably. And
right, yeah. So I watched that, and I was like, no, that's not the movie I just watched, kind of.
Yeah, it's not like Guardian of the Galaxies where there's 1,000 different colors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of trying to portray
There were some nicer
itself
shots in this, though. The one shot that really stood out to me is when Michael Keaton is in the car, and when he first realizes that that's Spider-Man that he has with him.
They go into
the red light shows up, and it shines on his face just as he kind of has that evil look on there. There's a lot of little shots that were really cool.
And then it turned green to oh, he's the Vulture now. He's not just the dad.
Yeah. There's some nice stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's if you're thinking about it, it's pretty cool.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, they go through a lot of There's a lot of.
But all the action scenes are in broad daylight and natural daylight, boring, wet concrete and gray cement.
I really did like that this is my last thing. The third act fight, though. I was actually invested. I wasn't it
was really
you
cool.
You guys are running around the city and there's a big blue light in the sky. It's the fucking Avengers. It's the new technology where it's that kind of invisible plane kind of and they're all projecting different things, and when it really starts to malfunction, it's kind of going into this techno-y
you get the disco ball effect going,
and it looks crazy. And especially there's even scenes where they're kind of they have to be filming and then projecting what they're filming live. So there's a part where you just see a huge Spider-Man kind of crawling across the plane, and I really like that. I even like when it crashes on Coney Island, I guess is that where they are?
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
I don't know any other amusement parks in New York City. But yeah, the flames in that kind of when they're out at sea kind of and shooting that, and it's kind of flames across the beach, and it's a really beautiful scene. Some of the close-ups are a little this looks a little set-y kind of, but I really liked that. But yeah, I think I've said all I need to say. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It still fell at some parts, which is why I'm going to give it 3.5 fingers.
Oh.
Just a finger short of these two fellas. Oh, half finger short.
Like a knuckle.
Yeah.
I did really like in that climax, we didn't talk about this yet, the callback to the guy in the chair thing.
Yeah. I do like that. Yeah.
And then the fact that he actually got to help him by grabbing the webbing, and I don't know, just their friendship is really cool in this movie, and him actually getting to be a part of that works in the script because he's been talking about so much about how he likes Spider-Man and how Spider-Man is the coolest thing ever. That was just a nice moment. I just want to get that in there.
Oh no, yeah, I like that too.
So that'll come out to 3.83 repeating, which will round down to 3.5 fingers for us. So very decent film. Thanks for fucking up our score.
It could have been amazing. This could have been better.
But if you agree or disagree, leave a comment below wherever you're listening, or write to us on Twitter, Facebook, Gmail specifically.
Yeah, tell us how much we said during this episode. I want to see comments that are get to the movie already. Comment at the part where I obviously didn't know who Zendaya was. I know you guys all saw that. That was weird. And I was like, oh, she's not the love. Okay, future love interest. Cool.
Watch the movie sometime, bro.
I will. Who is Zendaya? Why is she Why she just got?
I had asked my wife this
one
yesterday.
name.
She is like a
Disney Channel, yeah.
Disney Channel or something.
It was why can't I remember?
Bella Thorne was on the show as well, or something like that.
Shake It Up. She was
Shake
on
It
a
Up.
Is that what it was?
Shake It. She was on Shake It Up from 2010 to 2013.
Oh, those.
She's
3
also
years.
in Disney's Zapped and Disney's Frenemies, both TV movies.
Huh. I thought I recognized her, but I don't recognize any of those shows.
So since Disney owns everything, she had
right.
she
They
had
were
a shoe-in. Yeah.
Hey, Sony. What is it, Disney? I hear you're making a... Maybe you'll put our good friend Zendaya in it. Yeah, okay. Are you okay or yes? Yeah. Hey, Sony. We're thinking about re-releasing the Death Star Lego set. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, it's gonna cost about $300-400.
Make sure it's on the set.
Big brother Disney.
Is Zendaya really cool enough for just a solo name?
Yeah, she's like Seal.
Bono.
Yeah.
Madonna?
Yeah.
How many more can we do?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like that was like a 90s like riff. Is every like comedy in the 90s was like, what? One name like fill in the blank kind of? Or it even stretched out to like Superbad, right? And by the time Superbad came out, like, McLovin, who do you think you are? Yeah, like I feel like that joke
I get it.
was
My joke sucked, Joe.
worn out until now. Well, Mike, it's a movie podcast, and you were
I
calling
was making
back
a reference to
right,
movies that
exactly.
have worn out that tired joke that I brought back.
Right, yeah. Like, I was trying to make you look cool, and you just fucking shit the bed.
Sorry.
I still think you look cool.
Thank you. New best friend.
We're the best of friends.
Why is he sitting where I should be sitting?
I got a pillow on my stool. It's comfortable.
Who replaced me with Andrew Garfield?
Hey,
boy.
I'm British and stuff.
It's like I was talking to a British guy for a minute there.
Check that out. Check that out.
What you did when you were standing in front.
Hey, I got a Brooklyn accent. No, I'm British. Hey, look at me. I'm Spider-Man.
It's brilliant.
Fire Andrew. We found our Spider-Man. Emma's like, fire my boyfriend. I found a new boyfriend.
This beer is stronger than I thought.
Mystery alcohol content strikes again.
It's actually 12%. Yeah.
Callback, baby. It's a really long one.
Full circle. It makes a good episode. Anyway, make sure you check us out at the 5th Annual Philadelphia Podcast Festival this Sunday, July 16th.
You have nothing to do on a Sunday.
You have
Come
nothing
hang
to do.
out.
Come hang out with Tattooed Mom
That old man.
and us, 4 o'clock p.m. at Tattooed Mom Bar.
And plus, afterwards, then you can pick up a cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Philly. Yeah.
I still
South
haven't. I don't
Street.
think I still have not had like an actual Philly cheesesteak because every time we go to Philly, it's usually for like a show or something. So we get out at like 2 and they're all closed.
He's
So
from
Joe-
North Jersey.
Yeah, Joe, show me a real Philly cheesesteak.
Well, now's your chance. And you out there in TV land.
It's your chance, too. Pick up a Philly cheesesteak.
so British.
Sponsored by Philly Cheesesteaks.
And how many fingers am I holding up?
Yes, you can see the koozie
Go pick up some
he's
merch.
holding. We've got merch at howmanyfingerspodcast.bigcartel.com. We got koozies, t-shirts, stickers, and all 3 in a package deal for $11.99. And you can find that link on our website, howmanyfingerspodcast.com, where you can also find a link to iTunes, where you can subscribe to us, rate us, review us. All of that would be gravy. You can find a link to our mailing list on MailChimp, where you can subscribe to that. We'll send you updates about cool stuff going on in our universe. You can subscribe to our YouTube. We would really appreciate that. You can watch us do things on camera, like these reviews.
Do the things, yeah.
Do the things on camera. And there's a link to our Amazon link and our iTunes link. Anything that you purchase within those respective platforms, after clicking those links, we'll get a little cut of. Very easy way to support the podcast without going too far out of your way. And check out a review of Baby Driver with Jordan Weinrich next week, and then Despicable Me 3 the week after that.
Right.
I think I got through it all.
You did.
I did good.
Congrats.
Jim, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
Spider-Man, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thanks for
this
coming.
is a lot of fun.
My new best friend. Watch The Good Wife and all the other stuff that he's been. Watch Spider-Man 2 to see where he stood at one point.
Right.
You can see where I stood.
I won't be there, but you'll see where I stood. God damn it.
Signing out for How Many Fingers the Podcast, I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
And I'm the guest, Jim.